Good morning. Good to see you all this morning. Today, I thought, well, yesterday I was rummaging around through a stack of, I don't know, pile of uh, notes that I've scribbled for myself and quotes of various kinds. And anyway, I came upon this. I think it had been under the pile for quite a while. I don't remember writing this down or where I took it from, but it's from my teacher, Jikai Dainin, or Katagiri Roshi, as you might know him as. Anyways, it's just, I could have gotten this off the Dharmafield website for all I know. I don't remember writing this down. But interesting thing he has to say here. So let me just read what Katagiri Roshi said here. He said, we might talk about how wonderful meditation is, how it makes our life better. But this is not meditation. It is dissatisfaction, longing, and instability of mind. And we might talk about how wonderful meditation is, how it makes our life better. We might talk about this, but this is not meditation, he says. This is dissatisfaction, longing, and instability of mind. Of course, we can discuss what meditation is. Steve and I were talking about this the other day. Well, various things pass for meditation, and some things, some teachers will correct it when we speak of meditation, where we're talking about Zen or Zen meditation, which, by the way, is somewhat redundant. Zen means meditation, or at least taken from the translation, starting with India through China and Japan. But some teachers will, might correct you right away that this isn't meditation, and particularly if they're thinking in terms of something like shikantaza, which I won't say anything about here. It's basically in my book on meditation, just second to the last chapter on shikantaza, I titled that "Knowing Before You Think." But that's shikantaza, and it's probably closer to what Katagiri Roshi is thinking of here. But it's how we might approach meditation, or something that's called meditation, or we take it up and then we call it meditation. But it could be any number of things that people will take as meditation. But Katagiri Roshi says here that we might talk about this, about how wonderful it is and how it helps our life and all that sort of thing. But this is not meditation, he says. This is, because if you just look, so we have this habit of not looking directly at what we're experiencing or saying, just have some abstract idea, meditation. Whatever, and we can argue about what we're even talking about there. What do you mean meditation? Oh, that's not meditation. Well, you call that meditation? It's endless. Zen, this is right to the point. What are we looking at? What are we talking about? Of course, in talking, you don't really get to the point. But are we saying something that helps us to see that? But it's all of this that we might do, that we might call meditation. But this isn't meditation, says Katagiri Roshi. It's dissatisfaction. It's longing for something. What? Meaning. And it's instability of mind. Right there. So as we discuss, we talk about anything at all, really. But this isn't a meditation, says Katagiri. But it's showing somewhat dissatisfaction, or as we discuss it, dissatisfaction might certainly come up. But as we discuss this thing that we're calling meditation, how wonderful it is. Well, yeah, this is some of this is longing for something, perhaps, longing for meaning. We always want to put something there. What does this mean? We immediately go to that, not realizing that we've just thrown ourselves into an abstract world and an abstract reality, all the while ignoring the immediacy of what's actually taking place, which is where meditation is, at least shikantaza would be. But I don't think I need to get into that now here. But it's into our thinking, into our grasping, into our longing and instability of mind, says Kadagiri Roshi. And we do this with everything pretty much. And in talking and in defining words and setting one thing apart from another, we want to know what things mean. What do you mean by that when you say that? And then we'll use some more words. And always, we just go into this abstract world, which is fine. We need to do that to some extent. Nothing wrong with it exactly. But when it comes to what it is here that Kadagiri Roshi is speaking of as meditation, this isn't meditation, what we're doing. It's dissatisfaction. We're not going to be happy with it. We're going to argue with it or with each other about it and that sort of thing. But it's just living out of this idea of that this immediacy right here, it must mean something. And of course, we long for that. We long for the meaning. We want to have meaningful lives. We talk like this, searching for things that'll give meaning to my life. Because we want to put it into have some abstract idea about it that we can look to or identify with, or feel like we take it into our being, or it expresses our being, or something like this. Just the idea that we have being, and it needs to be labeled in some way, or it has to be characterized in some way, or it itself characterizes something. All the while we do this. Again, some of this is necessary just to take care of your daily life. But when it comes to this matter of settling down, I'll say that the shikan, those shi and kan, this is tranquility and just settledness of mind, or awareness, but a settledness of mind. What Kadagiri is pointing out, that what we do in discussing this, how wonderful meditation is and how important it is for me, and that's fine. I'm not even saying that that's wrong or that this isn't important. I'm not saying anything about that at all. Just let that be what it is. But to say that meditation, then this practice, is something you're going to use to satisfy you or to make you feel better, or to stop looking at things this way. See if you can drop that. Because if you continue to look at just that, what you're doing, you're going to see agitation there. You're going to see questions, instability of mind. Is this right? I don't know. Is it? And go and discuss it with someone, or what? Just sit down. Just sit down. And become tranquil, settled, is shikan. And fully aware. Objectless awareness. Not on anything in particular, but just this immediacy, without feeling the need to put it into words. So meditation, what he's saying here, that we might talk about how wonderful it is, and how it betters our life and all this sort of thing. This is not meditation. Well, so what is it? What is meditation? We could say this might be shocking or most seem really strange or wrong what I'm about to say, but meditation is, we could say, is life without meaning. Oh, that sounds pretty vacuous. Why would I life without meaning? Uh, well, maybe life without uh, life without substitute, without the need to plug something in here to this moment. It is all right here. We don't use the meditation to what? Make an abstract form of something that we can believe in or put meaning into or try to extract meaning from. This is the instability, the longing and longing, reaching for something. In Fukanza Zengi, Dogen Zenji speaks of meditate, where he speaks of Zazen. He says, the Zazen I speak of is not learning meditation. It's not learning about this or that, or techniques, or how to acquire this or use this in some way. It is, he says, the Dharma gate of repose and bliss, totally culminated. I forget now. Mary always culminated enlightenment. Yes. Thank you, Mary. She has everything memorized. I sort of have it memorized until I get up in front of people and I try to call it up and it's, well, anyway. But so this is what these teachers are pointing to here. And whether or not we apply the word meditation or zazen or shikantaza, none of these words will really capture what this is. This just living out of immediacy and realizing just what this is, and realizing delusion is totally culminated enlightenment. This is nothing more than realizing delusion as it is and coming up. And delusion is taking the illusory world or the objects or the things we model and define and characterize in various ways, and take these forms and ideas, forms of ideas as well as forms, physical things, and we grant to them substance, and we search through those to find something to satisfy me now and to give me some kind of meaning or something like that, without realizing, you realize how abstract that is. And if you, and that's the world too, that world of abstraction is where you're going to find the suffering and the pain, the sense of emptiness in a more traditional way that we might speak of it, being just vacuous and hopeless and valueless and all of this. Totally unnecessary. That with this meditation is not about that at all. We just settle down with just this, with no object, with no subject, this sense of I and me and what I can get out of this moment, how unsatisfying that is. You can see that. And we can also at some point begin to see how unnecessary it is to carry on in this way, reaching for something, looking for something to fulfill us, to fulfill me in this moment. Momentarily, yeah, we can find that for a time, but if things just keep with all the appearances of just shifting and changing and moving on, and to the extent that we really lean heavily on getting something from that over here, I got to find something here that has really mean something to me. Not realizing, that this will crumble away, turn to dust, it'll evaporate, it will change. Then why do you keep looking for that when there's always just this right here that you can settle into, find this tranquility and awareness, yashikan. And it isn't just in sitting, the ta-za is sitting, and the ta is just so, and za is sitting in Japanese. But it's not just the shikan, this tranquility and awareness. I said I wasn't going to use these terms, but I guess I am. But that is without reaching for anything, even including the sitting itself, or the meditation, or the idea that meditation is going to supply me with something that I need right now. Yeah, it might feel that way temporarily in this world where everything is being jostled about, and you too, if you drank all the substance to the various things that seem to assail you, go this way and that. But when we just come into this moment here and just settle down without the thinking, I was in my book on meditation where I referred to Shikantaza as knowing before you think. Knowing, and you do have this knowledge, you're never without it. Knowledge of reality. This is knowledge with a capital K. It is not knowing about things or something like that. Knowing what this is or what that means. That's small k knowing. That's just ideas, thinking, believing, grasping. True knowledge is just full understanding what is taking. This is always available to you. And it is a matter of just settling down into this awareness with tranquility. And the tranquility will be there if we just stop reaching for this and wanting some explanation or definition or some meaning given to me about this or that maybe I can believe for a while, maybe for the rest of my life, but that's always going to be backed by disturbances and threats and I don't know, is this really old? And it's possible to live without relying on such things as that, without relying on anything at all. But just this moment, this awareness, and this is Shikan. As Kadagiri Roshi used to say, he'd apply that word to everything, not just Sa, sitting, but he'd talk about Shikan. For some reason, at least how I remember it, we had always used the example of basketball, Shikan basketball. Do this with full awareness and utter settledness. And you're not there shooting the perfect shots and whatever. But fully, you've become the game, the court, the ball, the hoop, the whatever, everything. And so there's no you, it's just, but this is where you're going to find, and it's beyond meaning. The moment you pull this and give it some kind of meaning, oh, that feels so great. Well, you're just taking yourself back into this world of pain and sorrow and confusion. It's not necessary to do that, but it is a matter of finally realizing what's being lived out here and just settling into that and forgetting yourself and what this means to you or what this will bring to me or what I can build out of this. Okay, well, I thought I might have more to say, but at the moment I feel like that might be it. But maybe you have some questions or comments about anything I said here this morning. Yes, David.
So I agree with what you have said, but when you were talking about meaning, I was reminded of Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And how important it was for him to overcome his experience of being in the concentration camp.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Um, well, again, that's to search for meaning and then to find something. It is very helpful. It can comfort us in the immediate situation that we're in, perhaps. It could even comfort, as I was saying, you might find something like this and hold on to it for the rest of your life. That's quite possible. But that thing all along, whatever it is going to be assailed by various things along the way. And so might you. But the one thing that will always be there that will be troubling for you is that you're reaching for something, you're clinging to something to give you some kind of support or ballast, or to help you ride through the storms of life and all of this. There's something to be said for that. That's and that's perhaps even easier to come by, though, in the case of what Viktor Frankl went,
Yes.
Frankl went through. I read that long ago, but still, and that can be very helpful, for us. But it is to be reliant on something else, something that will give me the meaning or something. And there's the instability, and that's what this practice, this practice of Shikan, is about dealing with that thoroughly, to eliminate the residue of something left over there that could still trouble you, tear your life apart, and it's still there. And though maybe you found a way to really ride through quite a bit. And again, that's easier to find, but you're still reliant on something that you believe must be true. But there's all sorts of things that can really start to rattle your beliefs about any number of things. What Kadagiri Roshi is pointing out here, when he says that the stuff, this is not meditation, what he's pointing to isn't like that. It isn't a belief. He didn't give us an idea there. He didn't give us something to cling to hold to. That's how this is radically different from anything else. Because anything else will be something that you're going to put there, that you're going to reach for, you're going to search for. And that's where most of us end up living out our lives. Yeah, you might find a pretty solid rock, that you can cling to for the rest of your life. Yeah, and that's good. But you can be blown off that rock, or floodwaters come through, whatever. It's still you dependent on something else out there. That's sort of just imagined. What? And of course, then we can't really find that, and then we'll call that a mystery. And we'll say, well, God is a mystery, something like this. God moves in mysterious ways. I heard that a lot when I was a kid in my church when I was a little boy, and not really appreciating. But it's always that self is there, me, I'm here, and I'm needing that thing out there. If we just settle down here, we can begin to see the illusory nature of that whole picture. And with that comes the elimination of this trouble that we have. But in the meantime, that was very kind and compassionate of Viktor Frankl to help us with that, and and to discuss this and to bring it out and to show what he experienced from that. Yeah. So I don't have anything wrong with that at all. And I remember after reading that book as a young person, but I had great admiration for him. And I wouldn't argue with anything he's saying there. I don't argue with it at all, actually. But that it still leaves us with the problem in the end, or at least the problem could still be there. And what these teachings are, what this practice is, if we can really subtle and understand the subtlety of it, it takes care of that. We follow through and don't get confused along the way, and And again, this is why I always say that, watch your mind, because your mind will lean toward this. And it's that's what's going on there. It's grasping. It's trying to get hold of this, and still feeling I need some support here. I need some explanation. I need, look at that. And what I'm saying here is that it is possible to realize that that way of living is not necessary. And we can find this. We can realize this. This is Wang Po, and he says there's only the one mind. It's a matter of just, he sees this. I say he sees it, but who sees it? But this can be seen. And this can be, we can awaken to this realization. It's quite subtle. It's very powerful, but quite subtle. And it really does eliminate the problems. All the people thrown into a tizzy this past week. I don't want to get into political stuff, but you know what I mean, I think. And we're all over the map now. So, and that's understandable. I'm not saying there's anything even wrong with that. Maybe there's some things that can be done about this or whatever. But still, and then we need to take actions in that world of this and that. So this isn't escapism or anything, but it is possible to come to the realization of what is really taking place here. And here's your Shikan. You settle down with just this, with full awareness. That's Shikan, just settling into that. And there's nothing there to assail you. There's not even you to be assailed. Still will appear as ourselves from time to time. But we can get closer and closer to maybe just forgetting myself and taking care of the moment and whatever might be coming up, but utter freedom. And where the life that's being lived now isn't just yours, it's this whole world, this dynamic becoming and going. So I don't know, does that, thank you. Good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Anything else?
Frank has a question.
Yes, Frank, hi.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
Hear me okay?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Yeah. I've heard you say something like meditation is useless.
Mm-hmm.
When we say that, are we almost ignoring the relative world? Because can we also say that meditation is useful in the relative world and the relative truth to help us get to seeing maybe the absolute?
No, that you just entered into all kinds of entanglements there. That's just simply not necessary. You can't use meditation in the well, it can seem like you can in the relative world, but now you're not viewing it. You're not viewing this meditation as Katagiri Roshi. I'm sure it was speaking of it, though he was using that word meditation, which I said is can be broadly assigned all sorts of meanings. But I think he's really keeping in mind shikantaza, and that to use it is, do you understand? It's already to be in this world where all this confusion and suffering goes on. And it's not that we leave that world. We'll always appear to be, to the extent that here we are. We're in this world, and there'll be a lot of pain, suffering, confusion, also a lot of wonderful joys and pleasures of various kinds and understandings and any number of things there. And it's all wonderful. And it's not a matter of destroying that or escaping it or getting away from it. You can't do that anyway. But it is a matter of this being tossed around by this constantly. and never knowing, and we're searching for some piece of land or something, a rock I could finally grasp and settle on, and maybe climb to the top of to get away from all of the disturbing waves or whatever that keep crashing in at the base and all of that. Yeah, but, yeah, we'll view it all that way. And then we might think, well, there's no real escape, but it isn't that great on this rock either, you know. But all of this is not necessary if we actually see the nature of what is taking place here. And this is all taking place without beginning and without end. There's nothing to secure at last, and if you're viewing the world in that way. But that's not the whole world. That's the world of appearances. It's not the world of mind or of awareness, objectless awareness. But this objectless awareness is right here in this world of appearances. The other way is not necessarily true. We can be caught up in the world of appearances and be oblivious to the world of objectless awareness. Because it's objectless, it's easy to be oblivious to it. But with the realization of this Shikan, again, that sorrowful situation that we otherwise find ourselves in is eliminated totally. I mean, totally. It's not through belief, because that's still clinging to something. It's not through coming up with a formula or a theory or, you know, a history or whatever you want to put there, politics or, you know, that's all going to be in this turmoil. Now we can use something to maybe allay this fear of this situation here, quiet it down in some ways. Yeah, sure. And that's what it is. And do what you can there, maybe. But it is possible for you to step back from all of this without leaving it and find this utter tranquility and settledness of mind. Right there in the middle of all the turmoil and sorrow. You don't have to take it personally. You know, it's kind of like people like, well, Avalokiteshvara, this image, an idea, but it's pointing to something. This is the bodhisattva of compassion, and generally depicted as female, though not necessarily so. But she sees and hears the cries of the world, you know, but there she can function in this world in a way that may, you know, settle the sorrows and the pains, you know, but not completely in that world alone. But it's through wisdom, through transcending the, you know, seeing the true nature of this world, that it is empty of any kind of substantiality. In realizing that, then, you know, she can actually function in such a way that, so this is here now is compassion working together with wisdom. And now with this understanding, this Shikan, as I was referring to it in various ways here, but this with compassion, because compassion will be there with that mind that sees that. Now here you are in this world, and while we can say, well, yes, but the pain is empty, you know, the blood, the sorrow, it's all empty, you know, so it's okay. No, but there's pain here. There's blood and there's sorrow and there's confusion and fear. All of that, there's plenty that can be done here. But the idea then that we're going to use something now in this world, or the meditation, and to help fix this, that's just our ordinary way of going about everything, and it doesn't work ultimately. It can help in limited ways in various situations for a time. But there's something else. And you know, I don't want to give you too much hope or anything, but it really is possible to eliminate you understand, to eliminate this altogether, that it won't be through taking something or some aspect of meditation, using it now with the idea that you're going to do, because as long as you keep speaking of that way, or thinking of it in that way, you're in this world of pain and suffering, locked in it, because you don't see how to transcend that. I don't like the word transcend, but for lack of another word, I'll use it there. But I don't know. So I don't know, did I help clarify that a bit, Frank?
Yeah, I just fear that we forget the relative world.
Yeah, well, we
With-
can't forget the relative world, but we can understand its true nature and realize that the way to settle this, but some full understanding is not to rely on the relative world to give us the right, so we make the right mixture here, the right structure, build the right theory, whatever. And that's what we always do. You know, even now we're trying to build conscious machines without really understanding what consciousness is, and that it's actually the world itself. What are you going to do? Build a conscious machine. But we don't have a clue about these things when all we think we've got is this and that, and how I can manipulate this or that, or use this or that to bring about these ends. And these ends that we're looking at here aren't the ends of anything. It's connected to everything else all the time without escape. So it's a totally different way of handling this very sorrowful predicament that we as human beings find ourselves in, or at least we seem to find it. We think we're in this predicament. But ultimately, that's not really the case. And it is possible to see that. And that's utterly liberating. And it's not relying on anything, including any kind of an idea or belief. There's no, I didn't give you anything here for you to believe in. I just pointed some things out. That's all. If you think I gave you something that you can believe in, or I'm asking you to believe in, please let me know, because I must have made some mistake in my trying to point things out, so I can be more careful the next time around. But I hope I'm not conveying anything here that I'm asking you to grasp. It's just a matter of learning to settle the mind. And with that, it's a matter of watching your mind, reaching, grasping, trying to explain, just as you did here, Frank. Just notice that. Well, when you ask, well, can we use meditation in this world? Well, yeah, but that, of course, and then we'll do stuff like that. But a meditation that you can use is not the meditation. That's what Kadagiri is saying. This is not meditation, but that's our usual approach. But that's not meditation. So what is? I can't really say, but this was an effort to try to point your attention to something. And I've told you many times too, in the, I don't know, best way, but a very helpful way though, is really, it is, because this has to be done at some point here. Watch your mind, and to watch it dispassionately. That means don't scold yourself. Don't get excited if you feel like you've, made some headway here. When it comes to this matter, there isn't any headway. It's either we see or we don't. And of course we do see, but most of the time we're distracted by just too much stuff. It's a matter of just seeing through that at long last. That's what enlightenment is seeing delusion. Dogen gives you that in Genjo Koan. And that's kind of what he's talking about there, near the beginning of Genjo Koan. So is that okay, Frank, then?
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
I was just aware this morning during meditation that now that I'm getting older, or just plain old, I have a lot of memories that are coming into my thoughts And a lot of them are to explain who I am to myself, or to make some kind of meaning out of my life and all of that. I can see that those things are happening, and yet it isn't frequent that I'm able to really settle my mind. Do
Mhm.
you have any advice on that or thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, not to be too concerned with that you can't, if you feel like you can't seem to do this very frequently, very often. Never mind that, just make that effort to just, sit down, settle the mind. And whether or not you have success with that in this moment or not, is sort of beside the point. And we can actually rattle that up more just by being rattled by the fact that we're not settling. So sometimes we can do that by maybe distracting ourselves. But if you want to do that, the best way to distract yourself would just be to maintain awareness of breathing. And just see if you can stay with that. Other things might start coming up, but don't follow those. Just stay with the breath. Eventually, though, you want to leave off with the breath as well. But that can help a bit just to settle in. I don't have time here now to get into why but the breath is a unique thing. It belongs both to me. We can easily control our breath. You can't control your heartbeat or your liver function. You can't probably find your liver function. The breath is right here. We can, and at the same time, like the heart and everything else, we can just totally forget about it. They're still functioning and you're still breathing. So that's the unique, truly unique. I think I've never found anything like it. And I've asked people and over decades, no one's ever come forth with another example. This is the one thing that it seems to belong to this subjective side of the fence here and the objective side of the fence. So just bring your mind back to that. And for a time, and then you can let that go too. It'll fall away of its own, really, actually, over time. But and then now we're heading toward it's getting more like shikantaza eventually. But I can't instruct you in that. That'll come of its own. But a good place to settle yourself is between the world of the me and the not me. And breath is very helpful in that way. And then for other things that might come up, thoughts and memories and a sense of who I am and that sort of thing, or maybe wanting to define all of that, just let those things go if you can. But you can't really let them go, but you can come back to the breath. And those things can more easily drop away. And then in time, the breath itself can drop away as well. But I don't know, does that help at all, man? Yeah.
I want to go back to what David said about man's search for meaning, because maybe I'm all wet here, but I think you're saying the exact same things at the highest level. I think that what he's talking about is this, man's or humans indistinguishable human spirit.
Mhm.
And how you get there is the same way that you're talking about it. And that's awareness and going within. And then through that, you get wisdom or meaning or whatever word you want to choose. But
Mhm.
I feel like they're the same, right? Because it's here, it's this, and not all this. And through here, you get to
Yeah.
that wisdom. And I think although he didn't use the word zazen or anything like that, I'm pretty
Well,
sure
that's
he
just
spent
it.
a lot of time going right in
Oh,
here.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
I don't know. And I think that, I think that's, I don't know. I think at the highest level, they feel the same and they feel,
Mhm.
I don't know what, good, bad, indifferent, but
Yeah.
where we get to.
Yeah. I don't want to, I don't know where Viktor Frankl was with that. So it's not for me to say that he was awake or not. He was awfully aware and very wise in understanding what needs to be done. But if it's still a matter of going here, it's still, we're still creating form there. What I'm suggesting, just to be careful of that. Now, it's been so long since I've read his, I really, and that was before I had the understanding that I have now in Buddhism.
For, awareness, that's for,
Awareness,
yeah.
objectless awareness is no form, yeah.
But if you're dropping your mind and dropping the physical part, then you're-
No, well, yeah, but you can't do that. You can't drop your mind because you're something formed. In the dropping of the object, there's a dropping of subject. Well, don't think about it. That's that. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay if you do, but just realize that that's really not necessary. I mean, ultimately, it won't be helpful. Because in intellectualizing, conceptualizing, we're still creating forms. And and the understanding comes when we see through this world of forms, whether we're talking physical forms or mental forms, ideas, thoughts, feelings. And it isn't like these are wrong, drive them out, no, we can't do that. We live in this world of forms. It appears, but that's just it. These are appearances. At some point, we can realize that. And then we're realizing we can see the true nature of what appears to be forming here, of that what appears to be coming and going. Even the coming and the going, or the time and the space itself, can be seen. I think I might have mentioned it here. I know I mentioned it somewhere. Well, when I was speaking in Duluth a while ago, but physicists and mathematicians now they've come to realize that even time and space are illusory. That there isn't time, there isn't space. That these things are made of other things, other mathematical structures that they've found. But those are still forms, and if you keep staring at those long enough, you'll realize that those aren't fundamental either. But we can realize this directly. Juan Po realized this when he said over 1,000 years ago, there's only the one mind besides which nothing exists. This can be seen directly. Nagarjuna sees it, Dogen seen it, this Karagiri Roshi, that's why I studied what I could tell he saw something there. I realized that he understood Nagarjuna. And that's why I stayed with him. I'd been searching around for a lot of different teachers and places and things way back. This is 50 years ago now or something. How long? Longer than that, I think. Anyway, what we have to do, what I'm trying to point to here, is this getting free of, relying on any form whatsoever. And this is what shikantaza really is. This I forget which is the tranquility. Khan, I think, is the aware. I forget. One is awareness. One is tranquility. Ta means hitting it just so perfectly. Za means sitting. So it's a form of sitting meditation, we could say. But I wouldn't call it that really, but it is knowing before you think. In my book on meditation, that's the name of the chapter. Second to the last chapter in that book. That's what I'm talking about. And that's actual true knowing. Everything else short of that, once we think that now this is conjecture, this is belief, we're working with structures again. And that can only go so far. Now we can use these things as I'm using them now in this talk to point. But it is only a matter of pointing, because the Buddhas, they can't actually hand it to you. the awakened ones. They can't give it to us. But they don't need to, because we already have it, in a sense, we could say. It's just that it's not we or I or me that has it. But this is it. This is what's being lived out. It's just a matter of waking up to the true nature of what's actually unfolding here. That's all we're talking about here. And so if you rely on any form at all, or as Frank was saying, well, could we use this here? Yeah, because it might be helpful, we think, but no, it's not, because these things are like, it's like Velcro or little hooks and snares and snags that keep hooking us. And that's why I said too, now, well, you said you're gonna think about it, but, and I said, well, don't think. And that's what I mean. I'm not trying to be cute with that or anything. And it's okay to think, and it'd be natural for you probably to give some thought to this, and that's perfectly fine. But it's just that in the end, you won't finally get the right idea. It's not a matter of having an idea about this. It's a matter of realizing what's actually unfolding. And all I'm trying to do is sort of point in ways that might be helpful for you. So I hope is that okay?
I'm way up at a different level in terms of human spirit, and I can't just stop there right now. Because
Yeah.
I think that
Well, the human spirit is wonderful. Yeah, it's an incredible thing. Yeah, it's just wonderful. I'm not putting anything down about that. It's just that, but we will make the mistake of trying to make something of it. It's just this. It's wonderful and incredible as it is. And one way to look at it that I've given people over the years now, but is just to realize that this isn't nothing. Sometimes people will think that like Dogen's or Nagarjuna's emptiness is about nothingness. No, you don't understand if that's what you're thinking. Obviously, this isn't nothing. The problem is we want to make it into something. And while we already think it is made of a whole bunch of somethings. And then we want to work with those and figure them all out. No, you have to see that just as there isn't nothing, you can't get hold of nothing, and you can't get hold of something. It's a matter of just seeing this and really understanding what it is that's being seen. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with the different things we'll play with here and there, and often to be helpful for people. Yeah, that's good. If it's going to bring harm to people and you're deliberate in that, watch out for these things are just going to really increase the pain of the world, and including the pain in your own heart and mind. But it's a matter of seeing that. And then we can do the various things that we can do. And then we can even just have some fun once in a while. Or, deliberately make yourself a dish that you really love. Even though I also speak out about intention. Don't intend to do this or that. Well, yeah, but if you say go to a restaurant and they have a bunch of lovely things on the menu, and I really want this, go ahead, order it. But that's different than when you say, I got the right way here. I really want to bring this through. I want these teachings to be posted on a public place in the schools and that sort of thing, because I really believe that these things are helpful. We'll do stuff like this. Even when we deeply believe that, yes, but I want to help people. This would be good for people. Well, but you're putting something there. And I'm just trying to help you to notice how we do this in all the different and subtle ways that we carry on like this. And it's possible to realize you don't have to do this. But here we are. We still have to breathe. We have bodies, we need to eat, so, because we have bodies, we need to eat, But all of that, none of this really changes in a way, but it's a matter of just seeing the true nature of what's actually unfolding. But I don't know. Okay. I think we're getting near the end of the hour here, so unless there's an urgent question. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.